So I think we can start a little bit early because we are here all together. So I officially welcome you and thank you for again for your time.
Sure.
I think you have already shared with me your presentation, but you can also you can
I
also
can share here.
yeah you
Yes, I
can
can
also,
share if I want to.
so you can start from your side, please.
Sure. So shall we start now?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay, so actually, this was my general idea with you, Prof. Zubair. I was thinking that I will just share with you something on eco innovation because I think you have mentioned earlier that you're from the engineering side, right? So I thought probably I can just share something that what I have done on my side, and then probably we can all be on the same page, and then probably you can also give me some feedback, okay, on the things that I can share with you further. Yeah, probably I'm not sure whether what I've prepared is something of your expectations. Yeah, but then please, yeah, feel free to ask me anything that you want. Yeah.
Actually, what we why why I contacted with you because we are working a very similar project what you have done. Maybe you've done on chemical industry or chemical
Correct.
industry sector, but we are doing more than one industrial sector. But topic is more or less same. So during literature review, I found that you have published very nice paper on this topic, and then I saw your analysis and result in the paper, and I was encouraged to contact to you, and I ask you to please pass on your the questionnaires. Based on that, uh, we can use that questionnaire to start with. So we actually are using your questionnaire in our
Mm-hmm.
work. Uh, but some of my colleagues were asking me, okay, uh, why we selected this questionnaire. So I said, well, this questionnaire has been tested in Malaysia, and more about this work, this questionnaire, and the work based on this questionnaire, we can know from directly from you. So,
Okay.
so whatever is your experiences on this topic and its research work, you can just share with us. That's all. It is not that much official thing. That's just the discussion between you and my colleagues. With me, there are two person are in this same room, Bahadur Ali and Suresh
Uh-huh.
Kumar. They are working with me already, so they can see you, but maybe you cannot. Bahadur, you can open your. Uh, Anyway, they are here with me. They're just sitting beside. I asked
It's
them to
okay. I think they're shy.
mute.
Yeah, they're shy.
So feel free to share your experience. That's all.
Okay,
Regardless,
sure.
whatever, particularly the difficulties, you can share more. Because we are having
Correct.
some difficulty also.
Correct. I think probably what I'm going to share with you will actually give you some idea how we came up with the questionnaire and what are some areas that probably you need to focus more and some of the challenges. Probably you would also know, because once when I completed the study, then I engaged that, oh, okay, these are some additional thing, or I should have done this thing, such way. And probably those are the things that I can share with you. Probably that would actually give an extra edge for your study, so that the findings are much more robust and better. Yeah. So let me just let's share my slides and just go through with you. Yeah, probably then we can just slowly pick up from there.
You cannot share the slides from your computer.
You have disabled. Can you tell the host to enable sharing?
Okay, I will do. Concept. Yeah. Multiple participants. Multiple participants. Okay, okay. I think now you can share.
Yep, can. Okay, Prof. Ali, right? You see, right? If we talk about the concept of eco-innovation, if you see in the questionnaire, there are three particular area of eco-innovation that we have tested in the study. Okay, and what I did was actually, if you have read my paper, I can even share with you later as well. That is the paper that I've collaborated with this one guy from Spain. And actually, yeah, this was his idea. Okay, actually, I discussed a lot with him, and actually, they were the one, okay, who pioneered a lot in eco-innovation study. So I actually tried to benchmark according to what they did. So that's where the concept of eco-innovation came in, okay, where we can see that if you talk about now, okay, the concept of eco-innovation is actually a bit more broader compared to what I did previously, where I was only looking into 3 respective areas when we talk about eco-innovation, which was the process, product, and organizational innovation. It was only these 3. But what has happened over the year, I see, okay, compared to me who adopted the definition, now the definition is a bit more loose, where you can see that what they are doing is that they say that any innovation that is able to reduce impact towards the environment can be considered as eco-innovation. Okay, that is from the European Commission. So I think in that sense, maybe the definition is getting a bit more broader. But however, what we see is that when we talk about business perspective, they are only looking into these 3. Okay, they look into process, practice, and system. They are actually putting it together in terms of organizational innovation. Okay, and then the last one here, they have product innovations. Yeah, so these are the 3 main aspects when it comes to business practices. But let's say, okay, if you want to, you can actually make your study a bit more open if you want to, rather than practices and systems combining together under organizational innovation. You can also break them up into practices and system. But what I did was, like, for example, our country, like, for example, Malaysia is a developing country. And when we are engaging so much about eco-innovation, you don't get much. That is our constraint, because you're not going to extract so much of information, especially in terms of process and product. There will be a lot about organizational innovation. We do a lot of some simple things like ISO 14000. We do some environmental auditing. So all those things you will be able to gauge. Yeah, so that's where we focus more on organizational innovation. So you have a choice whether you want to still maintain that 3, or you can break up into practices, which will be more of that organizational innovations, and you can get a bit into the systems as well. Yeah, so that is again depending on your scope of the study. Yeah, and what I see now, okay, after I've completed my study, I've even given you the link. Now there is actually an eco-innovation index. Okay, when previously they didn't have this index, but now they have this eco-innovation index. I feel maybe this will be a good reference point for you. Okay, if you go to this index to see actually what are the criteria they are using to measure all this eco-innovation. Because I saw that the index is quite robust and they have been collecting the data for several years. So I think this will be one avenue that you want to go and probably update all these segments, because that's what I'm planning for my research. Because as I continue, I would want to probably look into the index, because over the years, I think they would have made things much more better, right? So maybe, okay, maybe I'm not sure for your PERSI as well. When you're conducting your study in Pakistan, maybe now you want to move a bit from just looking into eco-innovation, you probably would also want to develop an index. Maybe an index which is a bit more specialized for Pakistan per se when it comes to eco-innovation, yeah? So that can be another direction that maybe if you guys want to look into, yeah? And I think this is the specific definitions I'm sharing with you, okay? When we talk about processes, what exactly, yeah, we are looking into processes. So technically, I think probably on your engineering side, you'll be a bit more familiar with this. We talk about cleaner technology in terms of pollution control technologies for air, water, and soils. For example, scrubbers, dust collection, waste system treatment, and so on. And when we talk about cleaner process technologies, we are looking into new manufacturing processes, yeah, that is less polluting or more resource efficient. And besides that, we are also looking into waste management technologies like incinerators, recycling equipments. And then we also include, yeah, when we talk about process technology, environmental monitoring technologies, okay, and instrumentation is also included here, inclusive of noise and vibration control technologies. So these are all the items that we pick up when it comes about process technology. And you will see that here is where we include the green energy technologies. For example, if you're using solar technology, wind technology, biomass, it will all come under process technology. So this is how we actually classify it. And then we also had this product eco-innovation, where in terms of the product, we are looking into totally environmental friendly products. I think I can just give you examples like LED, electronic vehicles. So that will be totally product eco-innovations, yeah. And this is the one that I say that organizational eco-innovation, where I feel that if we are talking about developing countries, we can't miss this out, because you will see that most of the thing is going to be directed over here. So what are these? These are just system. Probably in their manufacturing plant, they might just put a a signboard saying that please switch off the electricity when you're going out. That would be as simple as that. It will be falling into organizational eco-innovation. Yeah. And I think the more prominent part here, it's going to be ISO 14001. And another one will be EMAS, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Environmental Management Audit System. This is by the European Commission. I'm not sure, because when I was engaging in Malaysia in terms of chemical firms, some did, but majority did not. So I'm not sure whether what would be the extent of firms in what I call that Pakistan will be going for this system. But this requirement becomes very important if your firms are exporting, because this becomes a standard where if you're exporting your products, then your particular exporter, especially from the European countries, would be looking whether you have such kind of audit system or not. So it depends, yeah, on the cluster of firms you are looking into. But I think this will be some important elements that you can include. And you see, when we talk about organizational innovation, it's also inclusive of probably a very simple, I would say, engagement or cooperation, let's say, between the suppliers. Let's say, the manufacturing suppliers are, engaging on how they can reduce some material loops, or, how can be some better way that they can engage, would also fall under organizational innovation. So I feel that through organizational innovation, even based on the literature, there are a lot of things you can actually dig in. It doesn't mean that we are not doing this. First, initially, when I look into process and product, we felt that Malaysia was not doing much. But when we started going into organizational innovation, we felt that, okay, technically, we are actually doing a lot of substantial stuff in this aspect. So that's where we came up with these three things in terms of developing countries, yeah? So another thing, as I was telling you about the index, now, for example, you see, we can have actually a certain kind of index where your implementation technology, we can determine is at which level. For example, are you just implementing the eco-innovation for treatment? Are you implementing for prevention, to manage, to expand your green strategies, to revitalize, or to synergy? So you see, for example, let's say if I can just go back. For example, in this case here, let's say if I say firm A is implementing organizational innovation, I can actually set a certain criteria and say where they are, whether are they at level of manage or are they at level of prevention. So actually, this can be a criteria that you can use to actually establish your index. For example, firm A, they are doing organizational innovation. So which level they are? They are at the level of expand. Probably you can give them a score of 4. So, you can do a scoring system to actually develop an index, which you can actually measure at the end of the day to see, what is their extent. That means, I would say, the intensity of their eco-innovation. Because I can see that most of the studies or research are actually moving to that direction, looking into more into the intensity of innovation rather than just saying they whether have it or not. Yeah. So maybe these can be some areas that you would also want to engage and see, to see. And I think I can share with you this information on, how to engage with treat, prevent, what are the criteria used. I can actually share with you. But I can also see in the literature, they have more sophisticated criteria out there, in the recent literature. And when we talk about trend in developing countries, because when we talk about eco-innovation, it's either you are coming up with new innovations or you are, using the existing innovations. I found in Malaysia, and based on the literature, in most of developing countries, they are just adopting existing technologies, existing eco-innovations, not much of a creation. Okay, so we can say we in developing countries, we are more of a net adopter of whatever technologies that are in the foreign countries as compared to creation. The element of creation is a bit more available in the aspect of organizational innovation. We can see that they are actually creating their own systems and mechanisms because it's very specified according to the organization. But when it comes to, let's say, processes, mostly is adoption. Yeah. So this is maybe something, that your research can also gauge into, why more adoption, the reasons for adoption. Usually what you will see is that you will see the firms actually telling you, why adoption is actually taking place. I will also share some reasonings with you. Probably that would be helpful as well, right? So I think, Your research would be, once you're clear with the eco-innovation, you will be jumping into the drivers. Yeah, you want to see what are the drivers that is driving the eco-innovation. Now, what I did was, okay, firstly, we developed a framework to understand how do we select the drivers. So we saw that based on the literature, we have external factors, okay, and then we also have the internal factors. So the external factors would be the regulation, the consumer preference, all those pressure coming from the external factors. And then we also have the internal factors, which is your resources, capacities, and competencies. So these are the two elements that are working together for the organizations to actually plan their environmental strategies, which actually lead them to eco-innovate. So as you mentioned, okay, probably your faculty members were asking you, how do you come up with these particular drivers? How do you say that these are the factors? Because what I did was, these are some theories maybe you would want to look into. Yeah, maybe you want to tell your students to go and find. These are some competing theories in the area of eco-innovation, especially when we talk about drivers. Yeah, probably you want to look into the theory of industrial trade. You want to look into the theory, institutional theory, theory of competitiveness, resource-based view, evolutionary theory, and then I would say here is company internationalization theory, transaction cost theory, and theory of industrial. These are some theories that will actually give you ideas on what can be the drivers. So I think probably you can establish your case that you picked up your drivers from these respective theories. I think probably now I can see that probably there also might be some new drivers that are taking picture or taking place in the elements. Yeah. So to share with you, whatever drivers that we developed, it was actually theoretically driven from some of these theories. Yeah. So that's how we picked up. But what we did was, we didn't just pick the drivers and say, okay, these are the drivers, let's implement. That was not the cause for us. What we did was, okay, I'll share you in a short while. Okay. These were some critical drivers I think probably you must have. Let's say probably you're not following my drivers. These are some critical drivers that will be inherent in developing countries. Yeah. For example, environmental knowledge. These are some very important drivers because you will see how the firms are actually building their knowledge database. Because this database is being used by the firms to channel the knowledge from the top to the bottom so that eco-innovation can take place. So these are some critical drivers, yeah? And then environmental collaborations. These are collaborations with institutions, agency, research institutes, to very bare minimum up to the collaboration with suppliers. So these were the important drivers that we found, yeah? And I'm highlighting here export behavior. So you will notice that location plays an important role, where depends on the locations your firms are exporting. So probably firms that are exporting more to European countries, they would be having more eco-innovation compared to firms that are probably, exporting to countries that are somewhere in Indonesia or Thailand. You will see that their level of, adopting eco-innovation might be slightly different. But I think I'm sharing with you something based on my experience somewhere in 2019. Maybe now the environment would have changed with all the countries, coming up with their SDGs and everything. Yeah. And lastly is environmental regulation, that I think probably that's a very straightforward thing. You will see that mostly when we talk about developing countries, is going to be command and control, where technically it's about what they call this taxation, and then penalties and so on. So this kind of taxation system actually plays a very important role, yeah, for the firms to come up with their eco-innovation. So I feel if you are actually coming up with your drivers, these 4 drivers actually is going to be very important, and especially determining the turning point of your framework. Yeah. Some challenges. Okay, now this is what we found. Yeah, most of the firms, okay, in Malaysia, why they were unable to change, why they were not developing eco-innovation, because too costly to change. Because most of the firms here, they are quite old. Their technology is very old. So if they want to let's say modify, it's very costly, because they don't only have to modify one part, they have to actually modify several parts of the equipments or machines. Or sometimes if they want to go green, they have to change the entire machine. So it's too costly. Yeah. So these were some reasons why we found the firms were unable to respond to us. They were unable to give us, what are the drivers of eco-innovation. So I think these were one of the reasons. Some mentioned that there were limited government support. I think this is again arguable, because we see that in the case of Malaysia, Malaysia is also supporting mostly small and medium industries. But we have to bear in mind when we talk about, I think probably this will help you in your sample selection as well. When we talk about small and medium enterprises, they are not so into green. Okay, their technology is not so huge. But the ones that are really going into eco-innovation is the MNCs, is the large firms, because they have the capacity. So probably when they talk about the government support here, I think probably the large firms are also, expecting the government to give them some tax exemption, okay, all those things so that they can better implement those technologies. Yeah. And access to lack of knowledge. I'm probably some of the firms that you engage, they might not have enough knowledge about eco-innovation. That was also one constraint. So we actually have to brief them what is eco-innovation, what is green technology, and what is implementation. This was again another constraint that we found. Shoddy green definition, that is, even until now, if I try to go and find in the literature, there is no exact definition of green. Every single article that you read gives you a different definition. Same goes to the reports. So again, this is going to be probably your constraint when you say that eco-innovation and your level of green. But probably from the very beginning, you need to determine your scope. When you talk about eco-innovation and green, what do you exactly mean? Because even until now, there is no quantified definition. Yeah, it's very loosely defined. And another one thing was poor infrastructure, especially when we talk about product innovation, because most of the firms, what they want to do is they would want to have some facilities, labs where they can innovate their products. But the infrastructure is insufficient to cater this thing. Yeah. So these were some of the challenges that the firm had. And probably it also becomes a little challenge for us because firms are facing these issues. Yeah. So when you go and you're collecting your data, you'll feel that the firms are complaining to you. You feel that you are actually the representative of the government, and they will be like scolding you why we don't have all these things. So these were some of the challenges that we saw, right? The firms were facing. And Prof. Zubir, this is another thing. What we see now is that people have moved a little bit from eco-innovation and people are talking about circular economy. So this is another aspect that I want to highlight to you. Maybe you would want to also consider this thing a little bit. Why? Because I'm afraid that by the time your papers are ready, by the time you are presenting your report, your government agenda might be tweaking more towards circular economy, right? So this is another aspect probably you would want to look into, because when we talk about circular economy, it's actually a cycle where from the resources you produce, consume, reuse, cycle, you recycle and use back. That means the cycle is never ending. You are just minimizing the waste. Okay, you're minimizing that particular thing. So this kind of framework, I think, need to be considered, especially when we are looking into eco-innovation at this point of time. Because we want to see, when we talk about eco-innovation, where does it fits under the circular economy? How does this eco-innovation within the circular economy reduces waste? I think that is something very important that we want to look into, right? And lastly, we want to know is that within this particular cycle, how is eco-innovation helping the firm's environmental performance? So these are some aspects I think probably need to go a little beyond compared to my questionnaire that I've shared with you. So these are some probably new elements and aspects that probably the coming research needs to look into, yeah? So this is particularly the research approach that I used, yeah? Probably in our, what they call this in social science, I call this exploratory, we call this exploratory sequential design, where you will see that first you will be having a qualitative approach here, where you will be interviewing the firms. You're going to analyze the data. This is the data that you are going to use to develop your survey design. It doesn't mean that you develop a new one. You can use the existing survey, but you are actually going to update the survey. Okay. Then you are actually going to survey, collect the data, and then you're going to use both this data from qualitative and quantitative to triangulate. Yeah, this is a what they call that, a research design by Creswell, which most of our social science research we use. And I think probably, yeah, maybe in your context, the way that you have explained that our studies are similar, maybe this would be some approach that you would want to take in this case of this study here. So I've actually detailed out for you actually what can be done in terms of your research design, where probably you can start first with scoping literature review, where you identify key drivers, both from literature and theories, especially the theories that I've highlighted to you. We can actually dig out all the drivers and then also determine the new context of eco-innovation, because now people don't only call it eco-innovation, they call it green innovation, green system. There are so many terms now being used. So actually, we now need to see what would be the most competing context that we would want to engage the study on. Yeah, that's important. Eco-innovation index, I've mentioned to you. So probably we don't only want to determine whether they are using eco-innovation or not. Probably from the eco-innovation, we want to develop an index because as I mentioned to you, we want to know the intensity of the innovation. So index can play an important role. We also would want to engage in the local and international policies. We need to scoop out all this information. And then from this information, we develop an interview protocol. Because I think before you launch your survey, at least interview more than 10 firms, okay, to actually take the survey. For example, you have already determined in the survey there are 10 constructs. You actually want to interview them to see, are the construct relevant in context of Pakistan? Because I'm afraid probably at the end of the day, you have already collected the data, but the variable is not relevant because you need to localize the survey, right? So you need to interview them to find out, and probably while interviewing them, you might find new variables. Okay, you might end up finding new variables, which it's not anywhere, but it's available in Pakistan. Yeah. And your sample will also help you to scrutinize your sample. And that's where after you scope your literature, you go into qualitative study. So that's why I mentioned you validate your drivers, you gauge the state of eco-innovation. That means you want to know what is the level of eco-innovation. Probably in your qualitative study where you're doing, you can choose whether you want to do interviews or you can do a focus group discussion. You want to find new drivers. Then from the drivers, for example, yeah, you will use the drivers to actually develop your framework like this. How do you link your variables? Because only your interviews will tell you. Because maybe some firm might say that regulation is the one that influenced me to collect more knowledge. So, you'll find the link from, a government regulation to knowledge. So you want to come up with your framework. Your framework will be assisted not only from the theory, but also from the interviews, because the framework differs from one industry to another industry. And I remember you mentioning me that you're not only looking into chemical industry, you're looking into many industries. So there can be instances that different industries are having a different kind of framework to actually influence the level of eco-innovation in their organization. Yeah. So you can analyze your qualitative data. Only after this, you can actually develop your survey. So you can adopt the existing questions, for example, probably from my survey, or you might find new. And you might also modify the survey by including new items, new measurement items, which you actually obtain from the interview. For example, if you look at one of my items, which is, I think, export behavior, if I'm not mistaken, that item actually I created from the interviews. So that's how I actually got the item. Yeah. So there is a certain process involved where once you have established all these things, you want to do some factor analysis and all those things to see whether your items in context of Pakistan fits well. So that's very important. Yeah. So I think that's where then you can collect your data, you can triangulate both the data and information. And finally, of course, I think in terms of your study, it will be your reporting. Yeah. So I think actually this has to be the process before collecting the data and distributing the survey. So this was pretty much helpful for us, and this is how technically I went through the research, right? So this is on my part. So probably Prof. Zubir, anything that you want to ask?
Well, thank you very much. Really very informative session, and I think we learned a lot from this talk. That was my purpose also to learn from you. And thank you
Okay,
very much.
good.
I have some because I have been in Malaysia for about 2 years. I lived there in Johor Bahru. So I know I was in UTM, in Department of Civil Engineering. I was a faculty member there. So I know very much. I know Malaysia very much. Malaysia is very similar to Pakistan in industrial
Correct.
activity. Industrial activity. So uh, maybe Malaysia is little efficient than us in terms of like both government performance as well as the private sector, public sector performance are better than us now. But similarity is very much common.
Yes,
So
agree.
when I went through the questionnaires you developed, I felt they are very much similar. Although there may be some more questions or more way to find more information from different sector. That is possible because their drivers from different sector will be different. So we will work on it then. We will incorporate those things. But the way you work and the way you describe your process is really excellent. Thank you very much. Your work is very nice. And I am wondering then how we can collaborate more on this topic. So maybe when we write paper together, I will try to contact you that time. Or if you want to interact with us before that, let me know what is possible. Wait.
Um, I think Prof. Zubir at this stage, right? I think my intention is to just assist with your research. If there's going to be any information that you need, please just feel free to ask. Okay. I think probably the process of publication, everything can come later. But I think probably as for you, I think I know that what you're looking for, because this is what I was looking for when I was doing the study. The direction of making sure that the data that we have collected has to be reliable. Right. So I think probably if you can go through the process and you can collect the data, that should be great. If you have any questions or whatever, you just email me or just text me and we can just discuss. No problem. Yeah.
One problem we are facing here in Pakistan is that industry is not that interested in exchanging information or talking with us because they feel like this is kind of additional work for them. So did you face similar problem there?
Similar. That is a major issue. You know what? It took me 8 months to collect my data. Okay. You have to remember, you see, collecting consumer data is very easy. That is convenient sampling. But when it comes to firm level data, that is the toughest thing. Okay. But I think that's going to be a common challenge. But I feel that your preliminary kind of interviews with the firms, if you can get some good firms and interview them, that will actually be good. Okay. That will be good because then you can slowly start snowballing from them, from one person to another person. And what you can do is that probably you can determine who are your key informants. Yeah. For example, I defined who were my key informants. For example, of course, if you can get the top ones, will be better. But most of the time, you'll be getting the data from people who are working in that particular organization's environment department. They will have a small environment department. So you have to target that particular person, because if you're targeting the top people, you will never get a survey done. So what we did was we always contacted, for example, even though if he's going to be a senior engineer, okay, he's going to be from the health, safety, and environment department. So we targeted those people, and it was much more easier to engage with them. And they were actually more accommodating.
So what is your view about engaging association, industrial association? How did you engage? Did you get any benefit engaging industrial associations?
I engaged with the Federation of Manufacturers in Malaysia. I actually got my contact details from them. Okay, because we already know which were the organizations. So my initial engagement with them was actually getting the data. That was much more easier. So I was able to get the data in that sense. Okay, the company's contact numbers, because they had a profile of them. So I was managed to get them from the association. But the association was not like, if I was asking them to help me to collect the data, no, they were not interested. Why? Because the association themselves are actually charging money on the firms, okay, to be the members of the association. So they don't want to be troubling the members, by sending them survey and all. No, that didn't happen. But if, let's say, you have a certain amount of funding, let's say if you have money, I think the easiest way for you to go in order for you to collect your data would be if you can actually organize something like, a symposium, collaborate with your government and probably the Federal Association, get a venue to gather your firms over there, that will be easier for you to actually, once they are there, then you make them to write your to answer your survey. That can be a way, but only for me, I didn't have the funding, or else I would have done that. Yeah. Because you can't tell them a survey you're collecting, they will never give you information. You have to tell them, okay, everyone, come over here. It's going to be a talk on, how to manage the environment. It's a talk about SDG. Don't show them that you are collecting the data. You have to tweak it. Yes, that's how it works. You have to tweak it that, okay, this is for the environmental purpose, something, then you get them to answer. In fact, even when I went and collected the data, yeah, what I did was, I got a government. I got a letter from the environmental department in Malaysia. I got a letter from them. So whenever I went them, I never approached that I was a researcher or I was from university. I told them that I'm a government officer. Okay, this is part of the government's survey and they're collecting for that data. That's how all the data came in.
So you mean that like we have environmental protection agency, they are also our partners. In your opinion, that to be representative of EPA, it is better than just representative of a university, huh?
Yes. You better talk. You better be part of EPA, okay? Because when it comes to researchers, no.
Yeah, you're right.
अगर आप कहो ना आप रिसर्चर है, वो अंदर भी नहीं घुसने देते.
आपको हिंदी आती है?
हिंदी आती है, yeah.
How come usually Malaysian people don't know Hindi? How you learn this?
क्योंकि हम पंजाबी है, हम यहाँ के सिख हैं. So सब पंजाबी थोड़ी बहुत ही हिंदी बोलते हैं क्योंकि उतनी डिफरेंस भी नहीं होती ना.
हिंदी फिल्म में मूवीज देख के भी ज्यादा आ जाती.
बहुत देख के.
Very nice. It's very easy to talk with you then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I बहुत ज़्यादा आपका time. We will not take a lot of time. I mean, you are busy also, and my colleagues will also have to go home because it is now here 4:30, and it will take some time to go home.
Okay.
I'm staying here, so for me it's no problem. But anyway, बहुत अच्छा आपका मुझे लगा और बहुत अच्छी information हुई. We will be in touch, inshallah, for any problem if we come across. Lekin I feel that sometimes maybe for better or bigger events we can organize together.
Sure.
On particularly the circular economy, because another of my project is on circular economy also. That is I call it water circular economy. So we have another environmental economist, our colleague Dr. Asmatullah. So maybe I will ask him and you to be combined together and have some seminar on this circular economy, because this is really eco innovation. The ultimate purpose is actually circular economy. So in circular economy we can innovate something, but basically we are helping in promotion of circular economy. So I will be in touch with you, and
Sure.
inshallah, I am really thankful to you.
No
for your
problem.
time.
Pleasure.
So I will just conclude here. So we will meet again sometime somewhere soon, inshallah.
Can. Right? If there's any issues, you can just text me and then probably we can, because now I have an idea of what you're actually doing. So अगर आपको कोई issue है और just message कर देना.
ठीक है, बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you. And thank you.
Okay.
You can also say thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, bye. Take care.